Hey guys, it's Sarah and I am here with a book review. Today I'm going to be reviewing She Poured Out Her Heart by Jane Thompson. This is published by Blue Rider Press and they were kind enough to send me a copy in exchange for an honest review, so that's what this is here today. This was published on May 31st, so it is available now. So this book is set in Chicago. It is an adult contemporary, and this follows two friends, Bonnie and Jane, who meet in college, and they are friends throughout their life, so it kind of follows their friendship throughout their life. And there are some trigger warnings in here for extramarital affairs and some mental illness as well. So Jane and Bonnie meet in college and they are polar opposites. Jane is a very cautious person. She is very scheduled. She's very responsible. She ends up marrying a doctor and ends up having two kids. Whereas Bonnie, on the other hand, does not take very good responsibilities in her life. That's probably the best way to say it. She doesn't make the best decisions. She's very reckless. She's very spur of the moment, very whimsical with her time, and she does not really carry on relationships. Mostly men are sex for her. During this book, Jane and her husband are hosting a holiday party, and at that party, Jane ends up having a psychotic break that no one sees coming and kind of brings to the forefront the realization that she's actually suffering from mental illness that no one was really aware of. So you see Jane and her husband trying to deal with this. As time moves on, Bonnie ends up having an affair with Jane's husband. That's not a spoiler, that's in the synopsis. But that's the big kind of drama in this book. And so she ends up having an affair with her husband, and you kind of see how both Bonnie and Jane are dealing with that situation. So in the end, I ended up giving this book only 2 stars. It definitely wasn't what I was expecting it to be. And as I was writing my review, I always write my likes and my dislikes. And my dislikes were like I almost ran out of room because I didn't have enough room to write how much I actually dislike about this book. It definitely just kind of hit points that I didn't like. I didn't like that there were some things that happened in here. I didn't like some of the reactions that the characters had to them. I didn't like some of the really tiny, minute details of it. So it was, I spent the whole time reading it just going, I don't know how I'm going to write this review. So let me start off with what I did like. I did like the idea of the story. I thought that the plot of it was very good and it made everything seemed very intriguing, and I liked that there was a good amount of drama in here. Some things that happened that I wasn't quite expecting, which was good. So I really liked the idea of it. I also really like the role that the kids played in here. So Jane has 2 children, and a lot of times in adult books, the children are kind of glossed over a little bit and they're not really at the forefront of the story. But Jane's kids really were. They were major players and they were always taken into account no matter what was happening. Her kids were always thought of, and I thought that that was very refreshing. And Bonnie has some family drama that she goes through, not just with Jane and all that stuff happening, but her personal family, her parents and her brothers and her sisters. She has some drama going on with that too, and I really enjoyed that. Okay, here's what I didn't like. The first thing that threw me off was that these characters were really hard for me to picture in my head physically. So when I read, I tend to fan cast my characters, so when they get described in a book, I will automatically think of a celebrity or just someone really well known that I can easily picture in my head as that character, so that it's easy for me to picture everything happening in my head. And these characters were not really described all that well. All I knew about Bonnie was that she had curly hair. Like, that's all I knew. I didn't know what color it was. I didn't know what her body type was. And same with Jane. I don't even know what color hair Jane had. So that bothered me. It gave me a really hard, I had a hard time imaging it. So that really threw me off. Speaking of the characters, I hated them all. I hated all of the characters in this book. I had no sympathy for any of them at all. I thought they were all very selfish and they were all very hypocritical, extremely hypocritical. There were just, everyone was looking out for themselves and that was it. And they were all supposed to have, you know, relationships based on that. And I'm like, how are you going to have healthy relationships if you're all selfish? You can't. And very, very hypocritical, especially Jane's husband, Eric. I wanted to punch him in his doctor face. And also the affair between Bonnie and Eric seemed very rushed, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. And like, I get that Bonnie's reckless and all that, and that's fine, but come on, like, it was very spur of the moment, and I feel like if you're going to have a storyline where your best friend is sleeping with your husband, like, there should be more of a build-up to that, to the point where they're actually, like, going to sleep together versus, hey, we're both here alone, let's do this. Like, I don't know. I knew it was going to happen because I knew from the synopsis that was the big thing, but at the same time, it was very just kind of boom, all of a sudden it happened. I was like, wait a minute, what? Like, where's the inner turmoil? Where's the attraction over weeks or months that would actually cause you to sleep with your best friend's husband? And I think my biggest issue with all that is that the way this book is written, it is written in third person, so you don't get any personal perspective from any of these characters. So Bonnie probably did have a lot of inner turmoil going on and feeling really guilty, but we didn't get that because you're not in her head. And I think that was a problem. I think if this had been written from Bonnie's point of view, I understand why it was written in third person because you jump from Jane to Bonnie, but at the same time, you don't get any of that inner struggle that I feel like this type of storyline should have. So I took a big issue with that because I did not sympathize with Bonnie because I didn't know how she was feeling. All I know, she was sleeping with her best friend's husband and she didn't seem to care about it. So I didn't like her. So if I had been in Bonnie's head and seen that struggle and maybe have seen more of a gradual attraction between Eric and Bonnie, I think that I would have had more sympathy for her and I wouldn't have reacted so harshly to it. I just didn't like that Bonnie and Eric treated their affair like it was no big deal and they weren't really hurting anybody. Yeah, you are. You're hurting your wife and your best friend and your kids. And yeah, I don't know. So that's another reason I hated the characters, because they treated it like it was just no big deal and they just kept on doing it and whatever. So I don't mind stories with this plot line as far as cheating goes. I understand, I'm obviously not an advocate for cheating, but it happens, you know, and it's a thing that happens to people and it's a thing that's important to talk about and to be aware of. But if you're going to treat it like it's no big deal when you are sleeping with your best friend's husband, like that I take issue with. And there were also a few kind of little random details in here that I didn't understand that kind of made me go, what? That doesn't make any sense. For example, Bonnie is having an interaction with a gentleman friend and he talks about doing cocaine and she makes like this random remark that she doesn't mind occasionally doing something like that and having some fun, but she works with the police department and she works in a crisis. She's like a crisis mediator, I guess you could say. So she works with people who are addicts. What? And never once was it ever mentioned that she did stuff like that. It was just like that one time. And I was like, what? I didn't feel like that was necessary. And it made me not like her even more again. So I was like, come on, what are you doing? So bottom line, I just didn't enjoy it. I really didn't. Like I said, I liked the drama. There was some good drama in there. But at the same time, I just didn't think it was handled very well. I didn't feel like it was written in a way that you could understand where these people are coming from and that you could sympathize with them and maybe feel something for them. Even if you don't agree with what they're doing, you can at least understand. I didn't understand. And I think these people were terrible. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it. But yeah. So like I said, this is a 2-star read for me. Just wasn't my cup of tea, unfortunately. But, you know, it's going to happen when you read as much as I do. It's going to happen every so often. But thank you to Blue Rider Press for sending this my way so that I could read it and, you know, analyze it and get my thoughts out there. So I appreciate it most definitely. So if this sounds like something that you guys really would like, I will leave a link to the Amazon site down below so you can go ahead and check it out if you want to do that. And that's going to be it for me today. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know if you have any questions at all and I'll try to answer them as best I can. And I will talk to you guys soon. And let me know if you guys have read this. I'd like to know your thoughts down below too. Try not to put too many spoilery things, but everything I talked about is not spoilers. it's all in the synopsis if you read the jacket. So I tried to make sure I stuck within those boundaries. Okay, hope you guys have a great day. Bye.